Welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand. Hey there, I've been watching your Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand channel for months now, always thinking that could never happen to me. Well, I was dead wrong. I'm writing this from a hospital bed in Chiang Mai with a face that looks like it went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. And I need to get this story out there before someone else makes the same catastrophic mistakes I did. My name is Carlos. I'm 51, and I was that arrogant Argentine programmer who thought he had it all figured out. After making good money in Switzerland for over a decade, I retired early with enough cash to live like a king anywhere I wanted. I'd been following expat stories for years, especially the Thailand success stories. You know the ones, Western guys finding their perfect Thai wife, living the dream for pennies on the dollar. I was obsessed with traditional values. In my mind, I deserved a young, faithful wife who would appreciate a successful man like me. I read about guys like that British expat who built an amazing 25-year relationship with his Thai partner and their kids. I wanted that life, and I was convinced Thailand was my ticket to paradise. When I landed in Bangkok, I felt invincible. Here I was, successful, financially secure, worldly. What Thai woman wouldn't want me? This mindset was my first massive red flag, but I was too blinded by my own ego to see it. I headed straight to Chiang Mai because I'd heard it was more authentic than Bangkok. Within days, I met Nim, not her real name, a 28-year-old local girl who seemed absolutely perfect, sweet, traditional, talked about wanting a family. Everything I thought I wanted to hear. My Western friends there loved her. She seemed eager to settle down, and I was convinced I'd hit the jackpot on my first try. But here's where it gets interesting, and where I should have paid attention to your videos about cultural misunderstandings. After we moved in together, things started going sideways fast. When I'd dominate every conversation, because, I'm the man, she'd get this look. When I'd joke about her cute cousins flirting with me, classic Western humor, right? She'd actually get angry. She started making what I considered unreasonable demands about how I spoke to her friends and family. Instead of trying to understand her culture or perspective, I got impatient. I decided she wasn't wife material and ended it abruptly. Looking back, I was probably the problem, but my ego couldn't see it. I was exactly like the cautionary tales I'd dismissed, the overconfident Western guy who rushes in without understanding anything about Thai culture. Remember those stories about guys getting scammed? I'd read about Western men sending hundreds of thousands of baht for fake family emergencies. Dead buffaloes, hospital bills, funeral costs, only to discover it was all lies. I always thought, how could anyone be that stupid? Well, I was about to find out. After Chiang Mai, I headed south to Bangkok and Pattaya. This is where your channel's warnings about the bar scene should have stopped me cold. But did I listen? Hell no. On Soy 6 in Pattaya, I met Ploy, 23 years old, absolutely stunning, and working in one of those bars your subscribers are always talking about. She had this way of making me feel like the most interesting man in the world. Loved my accent, hung on every word, made me feel like a champion. Her friends, other bar girls, actually warned me to be careful. They'd say things like, Carlos, you good man, but be smart, okay? I thought they were jealous. I was convinced I could save a ploy from that life. Classic white knight syndrome that you've covered in your videos. I showered her with money and gifts. We took trips to Koh Samui, ate at expensive restaurants, stayed in luxury hotels. I was living the dream and spending money like water. She'd tell me she'd never met anyone like me, that I was different from other customers. I ate it up. For months, this felt like the real deal. We'd talk about marriage, about her quitting the bar, about building a life together. I was ready to buy property, set up a business, the whole expat dream package. She'd show me off to her friends, introduce me to her family via video calls, and I felt like the king of Thailand. I should have remembered your videos about long-term bar relationships, how they can feel incredibly real because, in many ways, they are real, until they're not. Everything collapsed in one devastating evening. I walked into her apartment and saw her on a video call with another man who kept calling her sweetie and darling. Not in English, in German. She was speaking broken German to this guy, using the same pet names she used with me. When I confronted her, she broke down crying. Turns out she'd been maintaining relationships with multiple Western men. Me, this German guy, apparently an Australian she'd met months ago. She claimed she was trying to choose between us, that she did care about me, but complained that I wasn't devoted enough. The irony? I thought I was being devoted by spending all that money and time with her, but she wanted emotional devotion, cultural understanding, respect for her as a person. Things I'd never really offered because I was too busy trying to mold her into my fantasy. She stormed out that night, and despite my flowers and desperate attempts to contact her, she ghosted me completely. I was furious, humiliated, and my ego was shattered. But instead of learning from this, I doubled down on the worst possible decision. Here's where your warnings about the dark side of Thailand's nightlife should have been flashing neon signs in my brain. Instead of leaving, instead of reflecting, I decided to prove something to myself. I jumped back into the bar scene with a vengeance. If she doesn't want me, plenty of others will, I told myself. I started dating multiple bar girls simultaneously, throwing money around, acting like the big shot I thought I was. I was angry, reckless, and making enemies without even realizing it. This is where the story takes a turn that could have been ripped from your most extreme episodes. One evening, Ploy contacted me out of the blue, said she'd made a mistake, that she missed me, that she wanted to talk, but she couldn't meet at her usual place because her apartment was being renovated. Could I help her pick up tiles for the bathroom? She needed a man's perspective. Every alarm bell should have been screaming. Your channel has covered stories about setups, about revenge plots, about Western men being lured into dangerous situations. But my ego was so bruised, and I was so desperate to feel validated that I agreed. She suggested meeting in Phra Nakhon, an area I didn't know well. Said she'd send a motorcycle taxi to pick me up from the main road. First red flag I ignored. The moment I got off that motorcycle taxi, I knew something was wrong. The building looked abandoned. There were voices coming from behind it, and Ploy was standing there with this weird expression on her face. Suddenly, 6 or 7 Thai men emerged from behind the building and surrounded me. This wasn't a random mugging. This was planned, coordinated, and personal. It reminded me of that horrific story about the Western expat who was lured to his ex-girlfriend's condo in Bangkok and attacked by 8 men with knives. I've read that story, and I thought it was an isolated incident. Now I was living it. What happened next lasted maybe 30 seconds, but it felt like hours. One man hit me in the ribs with what felt like a metal pipe. Another stabbed me in the thigh with something sharp. When I fell, they all started kicking and punching. My face, my head, my chest. I tried to fight back, but it was hopeless. I remember thinking about that British expat who lost an eye after a Thai biker gang assault. I remember thinking, this is how I die. This is how stupid Western men die in Thailand. Then everything went black. I woke up in a small hospital. Apparently, someone had driven me there after the attack. My face was unrecognizable. My left eye socket was fractured and nearly detached. My jaw was broken in 2 places. My eardrum was ruptured. I had multiple fractures and internal bleeding. When they brought me a mirror, I looked exactly like those photos of assault victims you see in cautionary videos and newspapers online. Swollen beyond recognition, bandaged like a mummy, machines beeping around me. The doctor said I'd need multiple surgeries to rebuild my cheek and eye socket. I might never see properly out of my left eye again. The medical bills were already approaching 500,000 baht, and that was just the beginning. But the physical damage was just the start of the nightmare. The Thai police showed up at the hospital and charged me with assault. Apparently, one of the attackers had a younger brother who claimed I had attacked them first. They had witnesses, people who were part of the setup. I was facing serious jail time in a Thai prison. No job, no legal status beyond a tourist visa, no local connections who could help me. I remember that story about a British expat who was deported after 25 years of living in Thailand illegally. At least he had 25 years of building relationships. I had nothing but enemies and medical bills. I hired a Thai lawyer who basically told me I was screwed unless I could prove the setup, which was nearly impossible. The bar girls who might have testified for me had all disappeared. The security cameras in the area mysteriously weren't working that night. It was my word against 7 Thai men and their witness. While lying in that hospital bed, I did the math on how much this adventure had cost me. Medical bills, 500,000 baht and climbing. Legal fees, 200,000 baht upfront, with more demanded weekly. Money given to ploy over months, probably 300,000 baht. Other bar expenses and girlfriend costs, another 400,000 baht. Accommodation, food, and tourist expenses, 200,000 baht. Emergency flights and logistics, 50,000 baht. In less than 8 months, I'd burned through over 1.6 million baht, roughly 45,000 US dollars. That was a significant chunk of my early retirement savings. Gone forever. But the real cost wasn't financial. Lying there with my face destroyed and my future uncertain, I finally faced the truth about what I'd become. I wasn't the sophisticated Western gentleman I thought I was. I was exactly the kind of arrogant, culturally ignorant sex tourist that appeared in every cautionary tale about Thailand. I thought about all the warning stories I'd dismissed. Every single one of those men who probably started their Thailand journey the same way I did. Confident, dismissive of warnings, convinced they were smarter than the cautionary tales. During those long nights in the hospital, I finally started researching Thai culture properly. Not the expat blogs or bar girl guides, but actual cultural information. I learned about concepts like face and social harmony that I'd trampled all over. I learned about the complexities of Thai relationships and how Western-style dominance is often seen as crude and disrespectful. I realized that Nim, my first girlfriend in Chiang Mai, had been trying to teach me about respect and partnership, but I'd been so focused on finding a submissive traditional wife that I'd missed all her attempts to build a real relationship. I understood that many of the bar girls who'd warned me to be careful were actually trying to protect me from exactly what happened. They'd seen other Western men make the same mistakes, and they'd tried to save me from myself. Getting out of Thailand became my only goal. My lawyer managed to negotiate a deal where the assault charges were dropped in exchange for a substantial settlement to the injured parties, another 300,000 baht I couldn't afford but had to pay. I was banned from returning to Thailand for 5 years, which felt like a blessing rather than a punishment. My travel insurance covered some of the medical costs, but I was still financially devastated. The flight back to Argentina was the longest journey of my life. My face was still heavily bandaged. I could barely see out of my left eye, and I had to explain to custom officials why I looked like I'd been hit by a truck. It's been 4 months since the attack, and I'm still dealing with the consequences. 3 reconstructive surgeries later, my face looks human again, but I'll always have scars and limited vision in my left eye. The doctors say I'm lucky to be alive, and they're probably right. But the psychological recovery has been harder than the physical healing. I've had to confront the fact that I was exactly the kind of Western man that Thailand chews up and spits out. I was arrogant, culturally ignorant, sexually exploitative, and completely unprepared for the realities of life outside my comfortable bubble. I'm sharing this story because I want other men to learn from my disasters. If you're thinking about Thailand, especially if you fit my profile, older Western man with money looking for a younger Asian wife, please pay attention to these warnings. Your Western traditional values might be cultural imperialism. I thought I wanted a traditional wife, but what I really wanted was a servant who looked like a supermodel. Real traditional values include respect, understanding, and partnership, things I never offered to any of the women I met. The bar scene is not a dating pool. Those women are working. It's their job to make you feel special, and many of them are very good at their job. If you can't separate fantasy from reality, stay away from bars entirely. Cultural ignorance can be dangerous. Not understanding Thai concepts of face, respect, and social harmony didn't just hurt my relationships, it put me in physical danger. The men who attacked me weren't random criminals. They were enforcing what they saw as justice for my disrespectful behavior. Trust, but verify everything. Every story, every emergency, every emotional appeal should be independently verified. The amount of money I gave to women for family emergencies, medical bills, and other urgent needs were staggering, and probably unnecessary. Have an exit strategy. I went to Thailand with no backup plan, no local connections, and no understanding of the legal system. When things went wrong, I had no resources to protect myself. Let me break down the real cost of my Thailand adventure for your subscribers who think it's cheap. Medical bills, 15,000. Legal fees, 6,000. Scam girlfriend money, 20,000. Living expenses, 8,000. Emergency cost, 3,000. Total, 52,000 US dollars. Hidden costs, lost retirement income, opportunity cost, 200,000 plus dollars. Ongoing medical expenses, 5,000 plus US dollars annually. Career damage, reputation, incalculable. Psychological therapy, 3,000 US dollars annually. Thailand cost me well over $250,000 when you factor in lost opportunities and ongoing consequences. That's more than many people make in 5 years. Looking back, there were warning signs everywhere that I ignored because of my arrogance. Women who immediately talked about money or financial problems, requests to meet in unfamiliar locations, especially at night, friends or family who seemed hostile or suspicious of me. Inconsistencies in stories about background, family, or work, pressure to make quick decisions about money or relationships, personal red flags, feeling like I was saving or rescuing someone, believing I was different from other Western men in Thailand, getting angry when local customs didn't match my expectations, spending money to solve relationships or cultural problems, dismissing warnings from other expats or locals, situational red flags, being asked to go places alone, especially by ex-partners, feeling like I needed to prove my masculinity or dominance, making enemies in the bar or nightlife scene, having no local friends outside of paid relationships, feeling isolated from other Western expats. I'm back in Argentina now, living with family while I rebuild my life. The money I lost in Thailand was supposed to fund decades of comfortable retirement. Instead, I'm looking at going back to work in my 50s with limited vision and ongoing medical expenses. But honestly, the financial damage isn't the worst part. It's the knowledge that I became exactly the kind of predatory Western man that gives all expats a bad name. I exploited economic disparities to try to buy affection. I treated Thai culture as an obstacle to overcome rather than something to respect and understand. I'm telling this story because Thailand is full of men like I was. Successful Western guys who think their money and passport make them immune to consequences. Your channel reaches exactly the demographic that needs to hear these warnings. Thailand isn't inherently dangerous, but it's unforgiving to arrogant, culturally ignorant foreigners who think local people exist for their entertainment. The same traits that make someone successful in the West, dominance, confidence, financial leverage, can get you killed in Thailand if you don't understand the cultural context. If you're planning to move to Thailand, especially if you're over 40, financially comfortable, and looking for a relationship, please consider these specific warnings. Learn basic Thai language and cultural concepts. Read actual books about Thai history and society, not just expat blogs. Have a legal exit strategy and keep emergency funds separate. Research Thai law, especially regarding foreigners and property. Understand the visa requirements and limitations. I came from Argentina, so I was from a country with a 3-month tourist visa. Probably the only country offering this. However, while you're there, remember to build genuine friendships with both locals and long-term expats. Avoid making enemies, even accidentally. Face and respect matters. Keep your financial situation private and don't flash money. Stay away from the bar, nightlife scene if you're looking for serious relationships. Always meet new people in public places with witnesses. Never do these. Never meet an ex-partner alone, especially somewhere unfamiliar. Never give large sums of money without independent verification. Never assume your Western passport protects you from local law. Never ignore warnings from multiple people about the same person. Never burn bridges with people who have local connections. The biggest lesson I learned is that Thailand is a real country with real people, real problems, and real consequences. It's not a theme park for Western fantasies, and Thai people aren't NPCs in your adventure story. The men and women you meet there have their own goals, problems, families, and motivations. Some are genuinely looking for love. Some are trying to survive economically. Some are predators looking for easy targets. Most are just living their lives and have better things to do than cater to foreign egos. If you can't see Thai people as complex individuals deserving of respect, then Thailand will eat you alive, financially, physically, or both. Channels like yours are crucial because they reach men like me before we make life-destroying decisions. I wish I'd taken your warnings seriously instead of thinking I was special or different. The Thailand expat community needs more honest voices, talking about the real cost and real dangers, not just the success stories and bargain lifestyle content. For every expat living the dream, there are probably 10 who got chewed up and spit out like I did. I'm giving you full permission to use this story however you think will help other people. Make it a video, read it on your channel, use it as a case study, whatever reaches the most people. If my humiliation and suffering can save even one person from making the same mistake, then maybe some good can come from this disaster. I especially want to reach men who are thinking about Thailand because they feel unsuccessful with women in their home countries. Thailand isn't going to fix your relationship problems. It's going to amplify them in dangerous ways. The same attitudes and behaviors that don't work in the West will get you hurt in Thailand. As I write this, I'm still recovering physically and mentally. My left eye will never be the same. My retirement savings are depleted, and I'm starting over at 51. But I'm alive, which is more than I deserved given how stupid I was. I've started therapy to understand how I became so arrogant and culturally insensitive. I'm learning about healthy relationships, cultural respect, and why my traditional values were actually sexist power fantasies. Most importantly, I'm trying to warn other men before they make the same mistakes. If you're reading this and thinking, that could never happen to me, that's exactly what I thought 8 months ago. Thailand can be an amazing experience for people who approach it with respect, cultural curiosity, and realistic expectations. But it's a nightmare for arrogant Westerners who think money and privilege protect them from consequences. If you're going to Thailand to find a wife, escape your problems, or live out some fantasy, please reconsider. Go to therapy instead. It's cheaper and safer than learning these lessons the hard way. If you're determined to go anyway, at least listen to everything on channels like this one. Take the warnings seriously. Assume you don't know anything about Thai culture, because you probably don't. And remember, every cautionary tale you read about Thailand happened to someone who thought they were smarter than the warnings. Thank you for reading this entire disaster story. I know it's long, but I wanted to give your subscribers the full picture of how quickly things can go wrong when you combine Western arrogance with Thai cultural dynamics. I hope my story helps someone avoid the mistakes that nearly cost me everything. Thailand taught me lessons about respect, humility, and cultural sensitivity that I should have learned decades ago. Unfortunately, I had to learn them the hard way. Keep making content that tells the whole truth about expat life. The world needs more honest voices and fewer fantasy peddlers. Stay safe out there. Carlos.